so much. And let's move to Egypt because now the floor is for Dalia Ziada, Director of Liberal Democracy Institute in Egypt. Dalia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica, and thank you, Dr. McCann, and thank you, Monica, especially for pronouncing my last name correctly. Let me start. Yeah. So let me start by actually my presentation won't be far from what my colleagues on this panel has already mentioned, but I'm putting it as I'm calling it the sweet spot challenge that think tanks should be meeting to be faster, to be more agile, more even keeping in pace with what's going on. So first of all, we all agree that think tanks are vehicles of knowledge. We are responsible for turning random information and quantitative data into comprehensible formats that decision makers in both public and private sectors can make use of to make people's lives better. So for think tanks to remain important and relevant in today's fast and complicated world, they need to meet the sweet spot challenge. The sweet spot challenge is about keeping the perfect balance on 5 main issues. Number one, keeping the sweet spot between academia and journalism or mass media. Think tanks are not media institutions responsible for announcing or disseminating information to the public. At the same time, they are not academic institutions that are dedicated to do specialized research that only specialized academicians would be interested in, regardless of their relevance to daily events. Rather, think tanks should be invested in keeping pace with current affairs that's happening where they operate, their local environment, so they can intervene with quick response enhanced by knowledge and data that helps decision makers and public citizens understand what is happening and how to deal with it. Number two is to keep the sweet spot between a specialized audience or targeting a specialized audience and targeting general audience. Think tanks are not only working for or with policymakers or the political elite in a certain country or region. They should also engage with the public, ordinary citizens. They can use public citizens as resources of information, and also they should make sure that they produce materials that can educate this general public and educate the public opinion about the current affairs and why decision makers had to make certain decisions at certain times. This makes citizens more active and make think tanks act as maybe the perfect channel of communication between citizens and government, which will eventually lead also to a better world. Number three is to keep the sweet spot between being friendly with decision makers and being critical of the decisions they make. That is the issue. I'm saying this especially that, I'm coming from the Middle East. And sometimes when you are working with decision makers, they always expect that you be on their own side. And when you criticize them, they look at you as if you are, the enemy, or you should know they wouldn't take you positively or deal with you positively as long as you criticize them. So we need to make sure to remain neutral, non-biased, in a time that remaining neutral and non-biased has become really a struggle and very difficult. Number four is to keep the sweet spot between what is local, what is regional, and what is international. And I'm glad that actually one of my colleagues here has already mentioned this. I think the pandemic has shown us that what is local is very, very related to what is regional and very, very related to what is international. The world, the troubles facing our world today are mostly global issues. They affect all humankind. Okay, regardless of their region or country. So this is very important to find a way to link all of us together, which leads me to the final point, which is point 5, about keeping the sweet spot between using social media and being consumed by social media. Most think tanks, old and new, have very good presence on social media platforms, especially on Twitter and YouTube, but their presence does not mean they are actually making the best use of those platforms. And actually, the think tankers working in think tankers, I mean the researchers and the staff working at think tanks, usually are more consumed by social media more than they use social media to promote their proposed ideas and research work. Sometimes they even get affected by the misinformation that's spread there on social media and use them in their research, which makes the work of their think tank weaker or less credible. So we very much need to find maybe our own social hub for think tanks to do something similar to what Dr. McGain and his team are trying to do for a while, is to bring us from all over the world in one place together, but to do this on a constant basis, maybe build a social media specialized for think tanks or only think tankers can use. This is an ambitious project that me and my colleagues at the Liberal Democracy Institute have been trying to do for a while. It's very difficult and we still cannot figure it out, but I'm sure it's not impossible. So this was my point. Thank you.
What I would suggest to our outstanding panelists is the fact that we have a little bunch of minutes. I want to see James McGann nodding. If this is true, yes, we should have a little bunch of minutes more. So, 30 seconds.
Unfortunately,